We're live. We're live from Spirit Lake, Iowa, and what we're going to do is we're going to show you Mike Mazur in his fur shed today, and you're going to learn about skinning beaver, coyote, and raccoon, and also we're going to put up a raccoon. So let's welcome Mike Mazur, and he's going to tell you things that he thinks about as a fur buyer and also as a trapper. Go ahead, Mike.
All right, little background. I've been with the Grunwalds for over 35 years. I'm actually an instructor at the Fur Takers of America Trappers College, have been for the last 14 years. And my specialty there was fur grading and fur handling. I'm now a lead instructor with one of the groups too. But one of the main things about anybody's fur shed is, if you look here, I have carts, which is a little more than most people, but you can anything to get your fur up off the floor so the air on all sides. And if you turn around, Nick, and show, air is more important than heat in a fur shed by far. When I got my fan on all night long, especially on dry fur. If you look at my thermometer over here, I keep my fur shed at 50-55 degrees. You don't need a hot. You need plenty of air to do the drying. We'll just hang on. But I'll just pull this up. We're going to kind of just go through the process of kind of a commercial way to do things. Do it fresh, do it fast. Either get it froze or get it finished. It's that simple. With the price of the fur it is today, we have to have good quality. We can't put any money into inferior stuff anymore. And one thing we're going to really talk about is carcass coon, especially. With the price of raccoons as low as they are, and especially in some of these central and southern states, we really can't afford to buy carcass coon anymore. If you're looking at prices of $3 to $5 on good green skin raccoon, and a guy brings you in 50 carcass coon that we're 500 miles from home, all we end up doing is we're just a carcass hauler then, you know. It costs us money to haul it home. We have to handle it 3 and 4 times. We have to skin it. We have to pay to get rid of the carcass. I mean, it adds up to a lot of money, but we're going to try and show you ways to at least skin your product and present it to us that'll get you the most money for the time spent, for sure. I guess, should we just skin a...
Get started, yeah.
We'll start off with a beaver, then we'll do and we'll show you how to freeze them. And then I'll do a coyote, we'll show you how to skin it, and then I will skin a coon, and I will scrape one by hand to show you how we do that. And anywhere along the line, Gary can chip in.
Okay.
This is a linoleum knife, tail hook knife. I get it from Dakota line, but they call it their zipper. But instead of taking a knife and trying to cut it, this works about as good as anything anymore. If I get one that's not busted, of course, right off the bat, huh? Oh well, let's see if we can get it. And it won't work. Oh, then we'll do it the old-fashioned way. This is live TV. Try not to get too deep to where you're just cutting the skin, not the belly. See, I'm not through, I'm just in the fat. I'm just underneath the skin. Try and get as straight a line as you can without any jagged come-outs in it, all the way up to that front lip. And I come back, and a lot of people can skin their beaver with the feet on them. It's just easier for me to take a pair of loppers or a hatchet, chop them off, and I chop the tail off too. It's just easier for me for rolling around. But you see I got a nice clean cut all the way up through. I should start off with, I run latex gloves underneath, just cheap pair of cotton gloves on top for grip. about as economical and as cheap as you can do it. And I use anywhere in the skinning process, you should at least have latex gloves on. With the diseases and stuff out there. We have a class at the college, and we bring in the Illinois State fur bearer biologist, infectious diseases, and if you ever sat through his class, you would never skin nothing without gloves on ever again. And I'm just taking I got a 6-inch beef skinner knife. They actually make a beaver knife. Some people use a straight edge. I don't. And I'm just kind of rolling as we go here. And I'm not the world's best beaver skinner, but we're going to leave meat on our beaver, and that's the way that we prefer them because of the way we handle them now at the building. We'll go over that later, or Gary can talk to you about it. And we'll show you how to freeze this beaver. We buy a lot of green beaver from all over the country, even the eastern and southern states. We'll buy them froze because with the price of beaver, well, tell them, Gary. I mean,
The beaver are used for the hatter market predominantly right now. There's just a few real heavy beavers that are being used for shears. Notice how he goes around the leg there. Okay, any tips there going around the legs, Mike?
This is something you just gotta have feel for. Some people have a little cradle or whatever. I actually rolled over and let the beaver do the pulling. You just gotta.
There's the first leg he's pulling out, and notice he didn't cut it the whole way through. There's a beaver hole right here for the leg.
Right. This is just the hole there. It comes natural. It's just like everything else. You got to learn where to cut. You can't be afraid to cut either, but. And really, with the price of beavers anymore, it's a good time to learn how to do this.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
But the same way the back leg. Let the beaver pull away from you. See how I'm just, you can see, I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, but
yeah, you can see the line.
okay. This is always the toughest part back here on this tail, this corner back here.
Notice how he's using the weight of the beaver to help him. He's not struggling against the beaver, but he's actually letting the beaver do a lot of work for him right now. The beaver's leaning away from him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I usually do a side, then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do the other side. So, and we'll just do the same thing. Here's the cashers. You kind of want to watch going through here that cashers have a very good market right now, that you're not cutting them.
Show them where the casters are, Mike.
Right here. This is an oil sac, and underneath of them is the caster, which this is a fall beaver, so it's not going to show up too much. Here's an oil sac. I'll do it when I'm done. I'll pull,
Okay. So it's in that area there.
I'll actually pull them out. Because you should, if you're skinning your beaver, you should be saving your caster. There's plenty of markets out there for that. And I want to thank Gary for bringing me a 55-pound beaver to show everybody here.
Okay, you gotta work a little bit.
Actually, this size of beaver is actually easier than a little one because the hide's thicker. You don't have to be quite as careful. Everybody wants to skin a little 30-pound beaver, but that's probably the hardest beaver to skin.
Good, that's good going.
For sure.
And notice how he's cutting around the legs there.
I'm letting the beaver actually pull it away from me again. This is the back leg where I cut it off, and you see where I'm not cutting anywhere. It's just one hole yet. And a little meat, if you're indecisive, is better than putting knife marks in the.
Okay, so here's the tail. This is the hardest part.
Yeah. Because this hip comes into play back here.
Notice how close he's getting to the bone, to the vertebrae.
We'll go back up here and we'll get this front leg again. we're just gonna, the front leg is right here. We're just gonna let the knife run along the edge. Again, no cut, just the one little hole where I cut the foot off. And again, I'm just kind of like skinning a hog here.
Notice how much meat he left on, okay? It's good to err on that side.
Like I said, back here in this, it's tough for most people. And once you get it going, you can just get it going. This is my rat skinning table. And if you notice, I got nails here for holding rat heads and stuff. It also works for me for the beaver, to hold the beaver. I'll let the hide come off the head here, and to let it, instead of me lifting and pulling, I'm gonna let the hide hang so it's pulling itself. So you're not pulling all the time. And then when I get up here, we'll just put it over. I'll let them nails hold the beaver, and I'll let the hide pull itself off. When I get up that far towards the head, you got a lot of bones and stuff, and the ears are hard. I'm not going to use my good knife.
Okay.
I'm going to use a bone knife for heads, because when you get to these ears right
you
here,
don't want to ruin a knife, or you don't want to ruin your sharp knife.
the sharp knife, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the beaver ears are really tough, and then from there on, it's all bone and teeth. So I definitely want to keep my skinning knife sharp versus.
Okay, good to know.
And of course, somebody shot it in the head. Again, if you're using a good knife, you're running on these bones, it dulls it real quick and it's hard to keep an edge. A good edge, it'll stay good. It's on these nails. But you can see, you can hear everywhere I'm cutting is on bone. So I got a different knife for each part of an animal. Okay. Now, the one thing about, before you skin any animal, muskrat, beaver, coyote, whatever, they need to be dry. Thus we have carts or an old bed spring, anything, a pallet, but with air on it to dry it. Trying to dry a pelt after you skin it is tough.
Yeah.
It's when a lot of people get into trouble. They want to skin their coon wet. A lot of them will dry. You get the bacteria growth started. And when you skin them, it seems to push the water in harder. They'll actually dry better on the carcass. And they'll actually keep longer on the carcass than after you open one up.
Can you show them the glands on there, Mike?
I will.
Okay.
I was just going to show them how to skin
Okay.
it. But that's probably the most important thing, is to have your animal dry before you skin it. Then you have no problems.
Yeah, you got all the natural oils. You got the
Yeah.
natural ability of the animal itself helping you repel all of the water, and it naturally cleans. It helps naturally clean itself.
Okay, being we left all this fat and meat on here, the way that they're processing beaver and stuff now, it may be a month before they do a bunch of beaver. And if you throw a lot of fur in the freezer, some of them tend to get dried up if you don't have any fat on them. Like a mink and a muskrat will actually freezer burn within a month a lot of times. This helps them keep longer. Again, keeps the oils and stuff in them. And with our machine that we're using now, this is no problem. We'd rather have this than a clean skinned one with knife marks in it. This will be a clean pelt. I mean, I'm not even close to the skin on anything on here.
Right.
It'll be, unless there's a mark that was on the beaver to begin with. But to freeze them, we're just gonna fold them over this way. Make sure there's no skin showing. Then we're just gonna take and fold that under like that, and we're gonna freeze it in the freezer just like that. And we buy tens of thousands of beaver like that,
Yep,
right?
that's ready to go. We like buying like that. If you happen to leave it like that,
That's fine.
That's fine. Also, either way, whichever way you prefer, we can tell what we're buying when we see it like that. Notice how nice and dry the fur is, and we can tell exactly what we're getting, okay?
Right, and I, you know, we understand that not everybody has a dedicated freezer for fur. And if you're gonna put it in with your meat freezer when your wife's not looking and you put it in a plastic bag for a week or so, you can get by, okay, but soon as you pull that out of the freezer in that plastic bag, take it out of the plastic bag, and it has to get somewhere where there's air, because that plastic is gonna draw moisture,
Okay, that's good.
right?
Yep,
I mean,
very good. Yeah, absolutely.
and we understand that everybody can have a dedicated freezer, it's impossible. It's, okay.
So here's the glands.
I start up here. Actually skin them backwards. Take the oil gland off.
Do you save the oil gland?
They have value too. You got to find a lure maker. But if you can see now, this is the oil gland and this is the castor underneath.
Is that a good castor there? Or?
Yeah, it's all right. But the secret to the castor, you got to get all this membrane off of there. They are worth pretty good money now, but they got to be handled properly. I'm trying to be careful not to cut one, of course, on camera. But once you get it open up, okay, there's the castor on one side on this one. We'll go over here.
You just kind of pull it apart there.
Yeah, it'll pull it, but once you get that membrane off and get it opened up, it will come
And
apart.
it'll stick together there.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, here's one castor. Okay, there's one castor right there. And right here, it's not quite as important. That's one oil sac. And there's the other oil sac, as you can see.
Okay.
That's more of a lure maker deal. You need to find somebody that actually wants that. They'll use it for lure. But this here, all you need to do, you can freeze it and sell it green to somebody, or a lot of guys, they'll just take a wire and hang it in their shop for 2 days like that, and then they'll reverse it for a couple days. And it may take a week for it to get semi-dry. You don't want them completely dry, and then
Okay.
put them in the freezer. So,
And then put them in the freezer. Okay.
so
Very good. There we have the beaver, and did you want to show them something else in the beaver, Mike?
I think
That's it. That's perfect. And now we're going to go to, where are we going to go to?
I'm gonna skin a coyote.
Okay.
Just show them how to skin a coyote. How I skin a coyote, okay?
Okay, I just want to say this before you start to skin this again. The thing is, some guys are catching a lot of coyotes and they're not skinning them. We want to promote skinning because it adds value to what you've actually caught, because you're putting labor into it, and we don't have to haul carcasses in our trucks all the way, from one side of the Midwest to the other side of the Midwest. So here Mike's got his coyote.
Come over here to this side, Nick. I know it's this. Some people hang their coyotes up, some whatever. I've cut the front legs off at the elbow. It's just way easier for me when I'm pulling that. If I don't have to pull that front leg out, you'll see when I get there.
And how'd you do that again?
I
With a lopper?
just took a pair of loppers, or you can take a hatchet on a block and chop them off.
Okay, what about preparing the fur here before?
It's the same way here. They need to be dry.
Okay, and how are you gonna get that blood out? How might a person without a tumbler or something like gonna get the blood out?
You're gonna have to spot wash it or wash it. Period.
Okay.
Because it's matted in. These came off of Gary's truck that he bought, so they're a little, and that's the way somebody presented it to him. It's tough.
Yeah.
Again, presentation. Here's some further. Again, it's just as simple as we just had somebody bring some fur in here. He had them skinned, and he brought him in frozen like this sideways. Well, what's that? Look at the neck on it. So makes it look the weakest that it can possibly look. If you're going to do the job to skin, he's got them dried out. Lay them flat. It still has a weak spot, but it's not like it was before. So, I mean, the way to freeze a coyote too is the same way as a flat. Is about like that. They freeze faster and they thaw out quicker too. And we can, even if you brought that in froze, we can see what you got because we can roll it over and see both sides.
Yep.
And you'll see the same way in our coon. One thing about coyotes is they take up a lot of room unless you fold them in half. But you just try to get the face and the tail, up under there. That's a perfect way. Don't roll them up. One thing about, we've seen it, especially with coon and everything else, some of these people roll them. It may be 2 days for that to freeze in a chest freezer, and it'll take them 3 days to thaw out because it thaws out just like that. And by that time, this end's getting dry. Mm-hmm. Again, freshness is where we're trying to get to. We're going to show you like I said, commercial way to do things. If you want to skin the feet out, that's fine. It's the same way when we go to stretch, wood versus wire. If you're doing 1,000 coon a day, you're definitely going to use wire. If it makes you feel good, put them on wood. I mean, it's all what you got. Presentation is everything. But I've learned how to open coyotes on a table and get past that hip bone and go right up on each side of the vent. And then I'm going to open this up.
You know what's the type of knife he's using? Anything else about the knife or anything, Mike? Or?
Well, it's a Weeby knife from Dakota Line. I was after him for many years. He wanted some input on what I was using for knives. This has what we call that clip point on it here, which I was doing to my knives with the old Chicago cutlery knives. We would take it on a steel or a stone,
okay,
and get it more of like a pelting knife. It just works great for me, and it's for $8 or $9, whatever they are. And I've literally opened 5,000 coon with one knife.
Okay, good.
I mean, very economical. It's the only knife I've used all year.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I use for opening my rats. I got different knives for doing heads, of course. I mean, that's probably the secret. Instead of using one knife from opening to doing heads, is you will wear it out faster because it gets dull by hitting bones and teeth. If I have one strictly for opening, one strictly for heads, I just go a lot longer. Mm-hmm. I don't have to fight that knife. You know what I'm saying? This is the hardest part, is getting around this tendon back here. But I'm through it. And that's all I'm going to do until I hang it up. I'll just go to the other leg, do the same thing. I start back here. And one of the biggest secrets to this, see this white fur and see the brown fur? I'm trying to stay right on that line. It shows you exactly where to cut. If you can see on this cut here. And we'll do the same thing on a coon. If you can see that.
Yeah, they can see that.
Yeah. And then I get the hip bone right here. You just got to learn how to get through that. And then go right up on each side of the vent. Right there. And then do the leg out again. This is probably where most people have the most problem is skinning a coyote, is opening up the legs. Like I say, some of them will hang one up by a foot, and I've just never learned how to do that. At Grunwald's especially, we've learned how to do production line skinning, where there might be one guy will open up coyotes for two guys that are pulling them. So we have to learn how to open, and then they shift it to another spot where they'll do the pulling, a different movement. It's the same way with muskrats. One guy will open muskrats, one guy will roll muskrats, one guy will head muskrats. When you're looking at thousands of animals a day, you have to production line it. It's, one at a time is way different than doing hundreds. So
Anytime to do the coyote? In the morning, you catch it in the morning, when should you, we plan on skinning the next day?
as soon as you can on a coyote for sure. I'm gonna go right in here on the tail, and I'm gonna go right back on each side of my vent here.
So you're meeting the cut that you cut?
Yeah,
He's
the
meeting
cut that I had before. And I can't. I'll show it to you when I get it over. If we get back here and look over here, Nick, see I got one cut all the way to the tail on each side. When we get to it there. Okay.
So it's pulling down the flank? Any secrets there?
They're tough. They're just nothing you can do about it. Biggest thing is get it that far and kind of get this belly opened up. And we're going to, I'm just gonna stick a knife in there and cut it and get this bagged out. As you can see, this is what we run into on the road. You know, I just caught it. Well, no, they didn't, you know. Try and pull that down. This is probably the hardest part, especially on a red fox, without trying to rip it. I'm not pulling down, I'm more pulling back at it.
Okay.
To get it around that hip bone. And you gotta watch to make sure there's no meat sticking to it. But it just, it's a,
Well, that's good, people see it. See how he's cutting the meat away, so he's not pulling the meat?
Right.
Okay.
and then we'll just open that tail up a little bit.
Notice how little he's using the knife actually in that area back there. It's all pulling because
Okay.
a knife is going to cause a lot of damage.
One
if you
little
do it
secret on a coyote tail. I've got it open that far. Just take your knife and just lightly cut it on each side. This is an old coon stretcher. This is my tail puller, and I think that's what Grunwalds are using too. But there are commercial tail pullers, and pop it right out. One thing to do immediately is take a tail zipper and open that tail up. Okay. Biggest thing here, make sure, is we got this bagged out here. I am going to take I double mine up. We got to kind of watch. Once it gets to here, it's getting a lot of pressure on there. We're just going to take a knife and open this leg up a little bit. And you'll see why I cut them front legs off. If you can look right here, it tells me exactly where to go through. And when I pull down, my leg is out instead of having to try to pull that whole front leg out. And I still got plenty of skin left on it. Okay? And what I do, being I'm short and fat and lazy, I don't want to be reaching way up here, and I can't with my ceiling to do the head. So I just put a rope around it. This is what I've gone to for heading on coyotes now. It's a little Victorinox knife, serrated edge, because it's all bone and teeth.
Okay.
And they stay very sharp, very long. You can sharpen them just like a regular. Okay, we're to the ears, if you can see right here. there's been a lot said on here. I cut my ears short. As you can see, I don't want all this cartilage back here. I don't have a lot of meat and fat left, and that'll come into play later. I mean, it's pretty simple. A little more pressure on it. Start here on the edges. Okay, I got the lip. As you can see, I'm up against bone immediately. The same way on this side. Cut that eye right to there. Just one little pop. One thing we do, we trim the bottom lip off anyway, so I'm just going to cut it off, and it's off there. And then all I got to do is lean back a little bit, and I'm done.
Okay, there
You know, I get the same thing at the college. Guy, you did that fast, you make it look easy. You know, the first 100 are tough.
Yeah.
You know, I'll admit I go a little too fast because it's just the fact that I can't do it slow anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you get into a rhythm, you know where you can cut, what you can do, but it can be that easy though.
Yeah.
Pulling by hand is tough on a coyote unless you do them fresh when they're still warm.
Okay.
And
It's good to know.
the one thing about doing them fresh is you're going to have a lot more blood. Even though if you trapped it, it's still going to leak out around these veins in the neck and the ears and stuff when you cut them. But you're just going to have to go with that, okay?
So there you have a coyote, and it's actually ready to. He showed you how to prepare it. If you don't wash it, at least get the blood out of it. At least get the blood out of it. Spot wash it so that you so the buyer can see what he's actually buying. Okay. And, whoever would be selling this would want to run a comb through it so the buyer can tell what he's actually getting. Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
So next we're going to go to the raccoon. Okay.
And they've done raccoons too before. This is, again, I'm showing you the commercial way in the right way, I feel. Belly of the coon, back of the coon. We're going to keep them that way.
Okay, good.
When I open, laying here like this, I'm going to go in this heel. This is most important is I'm going straight across. As you see, my knife is not coming out at any time making jagged cuts. It's very important to keep that as one cut as you can. That doesn't give it a chance to rip anywhere when you're pulling with the
You're not going to
machine.
flank it.
Right, you're not going to flank it. Okay, we're not going up here and down here and putting this flap over on the back. When I open up the tail, we'll show you. But it's the same way here on the
Same as on the coyote.
Same on the
we
coyote.
left that tendon there.
yeah. And I like leaving a lot of the fur on the feet. It gives me more to hook to on my. I'm giving all the fur that's there.
Okay.
Okay.
Hook two on what? On your stretcher?
On
or-
here.
On here.
And
okay.
on the stretcher, then I can trim it off.
Okay.
This is probably one of the most
Flips
important.
it over and makes sure you see this cut from here, Nick.
Yeah, this is probably the most important one. I'm gonna start halfway down the tail. I'm gonna go right on each side of the vent, all the way through to my other cut, okay? Okay, now I've left that triangle right there, but I've also, this is still all back fur, and the belly fur is all on the front. I haven't tried to cheat the size on anything here. Pretty simple.
Good. You guys can post this, the other names that you guys call the vent. It's the first time I've ever heard it called the vent, but Mike calls it the vent.
Politically correct.
The vent.
One thing to do, this is a boar coon, is I'm gonna,
Mike, somebody's asking if you wash a coyote after you skin it, okay? how do you let it air dry? Okay.
My coyotes are washed in a washing machine,
Okay.
and when it comes out of there from a spin dry,
Yeah.
they're pretty dry.
They're pretty dry. From
I
the spin.
scrape them.
Yeah.
I'll stretch them. Of course, you stretch them skin out for 5 or 6 hours till they're dry enough to turn. And when I turn them back, then I comb them and air dry them. And they're dry.
Okay. Okay. But if somebody's just selling them green, what would you suggest them to do?
It's hard to do, Gary.
You shake them a lot, right?
Right.
And okay.
It's hard. It's very hard to do. Same way with a big coon like this is just open that tail up and it'll pop right out. The reason for cutting the front legs off is going to be real evident right here. The guys back at the plant would never stop. See how the front legs came out? You don't have to sit there and pull that front foot out.
Okay.
Again, commercial, fast, fresh. When you're doing thousands a day,
Right.
you have to learn the little tricks. See, I'm already to the ears. I wouldn't have had to stop. When they do it over there, what's the one guy do? 700 a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all can do 700 a day. It's just repetitive motion. Okay, 1 year, 1 year. You know, one little cut. Okay, and then it doesn't even need to pull. You just pull back, and I'm already to the nose. See what I'm saying? Boom.
Okay. So there we have a raccoon skunk. Anything if somebody doesn't have, a nice system like yours, where should they start at, Mike?
Okay.
What should they get first in terms
when
of
I
a
show
winch?
them, I don't have my burlap sack in here. Open them all the way up the same way. Give me that bag over there. When you open the flanks up, you'll have to pull it all down by hand. So you're down to here. You wrap the tail and you pull. Once you get that down to the front legs, you can take this burlap sack and wrap it around that hide and sit back on it. And it's pulling. You're not pulling with your hands. And you got your knife up here.
Okay.
I mean, hold this up here like this, Gary. Just say you got it skinned down by hand that far. What I'm going to do, because the head is so hard, is I'm going to wrap that around. I'm going to take this, and then I can sit here and knife that by just leaning back, holding it with my legs, okay? Instead of trying to pull with one hand and cut with one hand, it's very dangerous.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Just a little trick like that.
Okay,
So-
good. Okay.
One thing on a coon or anything else, you want to make sure that there's no burrs in it, just a regular fur comb. Even blood up in here, caked on blood, will cause you problems scraping. So you want to make sure that's all out. I don't even know. Make sure the tail's split. Okay. And dry, of course. So, here's our rat trapper guys. They're going to do the special when we're done here. So, this is just how we do it. I do it. At how they used to do it before they had the machines. Okay, bottom lip on a coon needs to come off. It's going to get cut off anyway because it'll fall down and taint. Legs are just about perfect. I will trim this coon just a little, and I'm not cutting sideways. When I cut, I'm cutting straight away. So I got all this flank left. Okay, this is our scraping knives over there. If you look at it, zoom in close, Nick. They're very dull, but I have a pronounced flat side. I'm pushing the fat off, not cutting it off, okay? The cutting part will come with my knife. You'll see that later, okay? But I'm just gonna start here. Go ahead.
Notice the type of beam he has? Anything you want to say about the beam, Mike?
Well, it's a wooden beam, but we put, we used for many years, we put burlap over it for a little bit of a cushion.
Yeah.
And we finally went to this old conveyor belt.
Okay.
And I probably had this beam, well, I know I've had it 15 years.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you any more questions. You're going to start sweating here, not getting
No.
out of breath here. This is some work to do. Okay. Say whatever you want to say.
It's all right. Okay, now this is the part that a lot of people get into. This is how I do the heads. This fat and all this stuff up here is very hard to get off with a scraping knife. And this is all touch too. But I'll start on the side. I'll get it down, I'll roll it over to the back of the head.
I don't think I can do that. How can you? What tip would you give me to?
A sharp knife and the angle of it.
Okay.
I'm not cutting, I'm letting it glide, okay?
Okay. Notice the tension he has on the hide there.
Yeah, you want to keep it tight. You don't want no bellies in the hide at all.
Okay.
All right. And what I'm going to do, the biggest secret is get that fat off the first time you bounce over it, because the next time over it is harder. There's a little scab there. Nothing I can do about it. But again, with my dull knife, I don't have to worry about pulling it, cutting any hair roots.
Okay, good.
On that side. I'm gonna come down here and work one side. And this is probably the most important part of why this beam is like this, is because they're smooth, there's no nicks in it, to catch that skin and rip it. Because it does take a little bit of pressure. And this one was ripped, whoever skinned it. You just got to work with what you got. Again, what happened here, whoever skinned this coon had like 3 little nicks in it. When I said when I open up that coon I want one continuous cut,
Right.
that's what happens.
Yeah, it's easier on fleshing. You don't rip anything further than also when you flesh.
Right. And then we just finished it out. Tail's pretty important. Make sure you get the fat off it. All right. Next thing to do is come back, go up underneath each front leg. There's a little bit of fat left there. And I'm done. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you how we throw it on a I hook my flanks first. Some people do it the other way around. I don't want to overstretch it. Straighten on there. And then I'm just going to hook this down as far as I can. One thing on stretchers, you see this is concave and open. This is flat. You want that concave open towards the skin to let air in. If you do it the other way around, this lays against the skin and will have a little bit of a taut spot. That goes especially on muskrats and everything else. Okay. You know,
XL coon.
makes an XL and an XL coon, and I'm still 7 3/4 wide.
Okay, good.
I'm not going to stretch that anymore. Try to make it to the next size. Ain't gonna help.
Right. There's no clothespins there or anything. That's the size it is when it was caught.
The only thing I would do here, being that one was cut when they skinned it, but you see there's no flaps anywhere hanging over, and the legs are fine, and the lip is fine. It's ready to go to hang.
Okay, so how are you going? What's the room quality of the air when you're gonna hang that, and how long's it gonna
Well,
take?
like I say, I keep mine at 55 degrees, but you see behind you, I have 2 giant fans to circulate this air. Air is more important than heat. You can actually dry them when it's cold,
Okay. Okay.
but as long as you got air movement all the way around. I hang my stuff here, and if I feel, the biggest thing is when I walk through that door in my glasses, I wear glasses, if they fog up, I know I'm in trouble.
Okay. Too much humidity.
Right, and I smell also. It's just something you picked up over the years. Gary's been in many places where you walk in, you go, boy, I don't think I want to be here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if that's the way that they handle you want it as clean, as dry environment as you can have. And we know everybody can't have that, but within reason. But you can get by with a lot more. I have 2 big fans here. I'll even put a box fan back up here and circulate in the back part of this when I get completely full. But as you can see in the background here, this is something special that everybody wonders why cheap ranch mink, why they aren't buying stuff and whatnot. Here is a wild mink. Here's just a couple ranch mink for some comparison for size. They have any color they want under the rainbow, no damage, very uniform, 100% usable. Every wild mink's a little bit different. These have been bred so that the hair is the same height there as it is here. A wild fur starts out short here, gets longer here. You have to be more of an artist to use it. Whereas those can be sent down an assembly line, sewed together and put into a pelt or a plate, right?
Yeah. Garment, whatever. Yep.
Here's a nice big coyote from here. Here's a regular red fox from here. Here is a ranched red fox. You wonder why they only want to give you $8 or $10 for that, when them are going for 40, 50, 60 bucks
Yeah, or more.
you know, but 100% usable again. Twice, maybe 3 times as much fur usable.
Yeah.
Bigger than a coyote.
You still have to dress at one time.
You know, and yeah, right. Only one set of dress and no damage.
Yep.
And when they put them together in lots, they'll be color coded perfectly,
Okay.
sized perfectly. You don't have to worry about anything.
Okay, Mike, we've got 3 carcasses here. What can people do with their carcasses? Just give them ideas what they can do with their carcasses.
You could, wherever you caught your animal, you can take it back and deposit it in the field for other animals to eat.
Okay.
The rendering companies will take it. When you're doing it, when I used to do a lot of the coon, they went to the rendering company, they would grind them up, render them down. The fat is the best oil for protein. The bones for everything. I mean, it was 100% usable.
The meat is for protein.
Meat
the fats are used, in different,
everything, yeah.
different cosmetics.
Some people eat them.
So, but the point is like what we did here today. One thing we want people to know is we've got a coyote carcass, we have a beaver carcass, and we have a raccoon carcass. This doesn't go on our truck, okay? And Mike has just added. He's added the amount of money that he can get for his fur from us because he's done it. We like it because we don't have the carcasses to carry them around. It's easier for you, less freezer space for you. You don't have to throw 15 carcass coon in the back of a pickup. You just throw 15 beaver skins, raccoon skins in the back of a pickup. It's a lot easier, and you get paid for it actually also. So
Yeah.
that was the motivation to show this to you today. Things that Mike stressed was
Fresh and
the
fast.
fresh and fast. You saw the quality. You saw the racks here in his fur shed. He's got air underneath everything. He's got good fans over there. And he's got some good equipment, but start somewhere with equipment. And so
We didn't show you how to freeze a raccoon.
we can show you how to freeze a raccoon.
Okay. Get him flat. Get these legs flipped over. Get that tail up and no skin showing. And we're going to fold that over like that. We're going to freeze that in the freezer just like that.
Okay.
They freeze faster. They thaw out quicker. In fact, you don't need them completely thawed out. and we can see what you got.
That's right.
You
Okay.
can you freeze one layer today, tomorrow you put another layer on top. You can't pile them just like anything else. But again, the same way in that coyote. I've seen so many people, especially on a big coon like this, roll that coon up. I know it's 3 days for that coon's frozen. It'll take that long for it to thaw out. They'll hang it by the tail. First thing it opens up, that gets exposed to the air, dries, and the bacteria starts going.
Right.
And it's 3 days for that head to thaw out. And you actually did it backwards to try and sell it. Because if this is all rolled up looking nasty, we don't know what you got.
Right.
If
right.
it's flat like this, Gary's bought thousands, I bought thousands from our better guys right out of the freezer like that.
Yep.
We can, if we have to, we can still see, you know, hey, that's very fresh, you know.
Right.
And we see if there's any damages, colors, size. I mean, it's very beneficial to both parties.
Yep.
Especially if Gary's on the road over here in South Dakota and it's 2 days from home and it's 50 degrees out.
Right. Like it is today.
We can't, if this coon come into me, been hanging on a barn for 5 days, I can't buy it.
Right.
Yes, it's probably still good if somebody took and scraped and stretched it that day, but if I'm 2 or 3 days from home, I can't buy it.
Right.
I can't put it in my load. I have to have fresh, frozen, good quality stuff to control the rest of my fur.
Right.
I can't put something in there that's gonna jeopardize what I've already bought.
Right. Right. Yeah, we have to have fresh
Right.
goods at the truck.
Right.
Okay, so you've learned a lot here today. If you have any questions, you can send them to us. Like us on the Facebook page. That way you continually get that way you continually get the updates, and also share this with other people that might be interested. And also go to our Instagram and then our YouTube, and then you can also go to our Twitter page. Okay.
Okay, just
Okay.
think of this right here quick.
Okay.
I skinned a coyote, a coon, and a beaver. That's the pile. The carcasses, you seen what it was.
Yep.
That's where we're at. And you've added $10 to this, you've added $5 to this, you've added $2 to $3 to this.
Or more.
Or more.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting paid for your work.
Yep. Yeah, actually 5 he added actually to this
Yeah.
raccoon right here.
Right.
Okay, so thank you very
Yeah.
much, Mike. You can send us questions. If you have any questions for Mike, we can ask him directly. We'll send the question to him. And in about an hour or even less, we're going to be out on a lake, on some water near Spirit Lake with Trapper Bob, and we're going to do some under the ice trapping for muskrats. Okay, so we'll be out there today. Because you guys still have time left in your season to go out and trap some muskrats underneath the ice. You're going to learn something today, and you see a guy that's caught several thousand underneath of the ice. Okay, so thanks for being